Hi everyone, welcome back to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Kat.
And we're on day 2 of our article, which is all about going to the library. So what's happened in day 1?
Well, it seems like Nicole was on her way to the library and she ran into Will. Now they know each other and she was carrying a big pile of heavy books, so he offered to help her carry some because he's also going to the library.
That's right. He's going there to find books for his science project on caterpillars and butterflies. So he's got a particular book in mind, and Nicole helps him search for the book on the library's computer system.
She probably goes to the library a lot.
Yeah, I bet she does. So he tells her the author name and the name of the book, and they check the library's database.
Right. So the good news is he's in luck because the exact book he needs is in the library right now. Yay! Yep,
he writes down the call number and goes to find it in the non-fiction section because the call number will tell him where it is, where to look. So what's Nicole doing while that's going on?
Well, she's a big reader, so she's gonna go browse the fiction section, or the basically stories section, for some new books to read.
Exactly. So they do separate, but they agree to meet each other in an hour, giving Nicole plenty of time to browse, maybe read a few blurbs on the back or pages at the front.
Yeah.
Will can kind of find his book and maybe have a quick look through it to make sure it's the thing he wants before he takes it home, whether he thinks, oh, it's going to be useful, or actually, no, I can do without it. And they decide to meet up in an hour. Today, we'll find out what happens when they do. Let's read through the article.
Reading.
Visiting the local library. Will and Nicole meet up.
Did you find your book?
Yes, it took me a while, but I tracked it down. Thanks for assisting me.
No problem. Let's find the librarian and check out your book.
They find the librarian.
I'd like to borrow this book, please.
Of course. Can I have your library card?
You need a library card to borrow a book?
Yes, but it's easy to sign up for one, and there's no fee. Just fill out this form.
Okay.
You can borrow books for a month at a time. You can renew your loan, but please return your books on time. Otherwise, there's a fine.
What if the library isn't open when I want to return the book?
We have a book return box outside.
Got it. Here's the completed form.
Please wait a moment while I put your details into our system. Now that you've signed up, you can use our computers, reading room, and study rooms.
Great! Thanks.
Will waits as the librarian registers him.
Okay, so starting out today, we have passed that hour, so Will and Nicole meet up. Now, meet up here is kind of the opposite of separate. It's a phrasal verb that means you did separate, now you're coming back together. Or maybe, you've arranged a date with somebody that you know, and you're going to meet them somewhere. Now, when you meet up with somebody, it means you come to a place where they're also going to come after you agreed to go there and meet each other. Probably you'll do something else after you meet up. You might go to a party, you might go eat dinner, or just to go hang out, do something enjoyable. Usually you say this about your friends or people that are not your partner. So like if you're going out with your boyfriend or girlfriend, you're going on a date. You're not really meeting up. Unless you're meeting up after you already met once earlier.
Okay,
yeah.
So they meet up and Nicole says, did you find your book?
Good question. And Will says, yes, it took me a while, but I tracked it down. So track down here is when you're looking for something. It's kind of like look for, but it's a little more specific. When we track something or somebody down, you were searching for it and you were kind of following a trail to find it. You had to follow along for a certain amount of time, and finally you did find it. And it kind of implies that it took some time and effort.
Yeah, you maybe had to get one thing, a detail first, and then go, okay, so I found the right area, now I find the right shelf, now I find the right book. So it's kind of a step-by-step sort of process here.
Exactly, narrowing down.
Okay, now Will then says, thanks for assisting me. Thanks for helping me, Nicole. You know, your expertise with the computer system and finding the books probably saved him a lot of time wandering around the non-fiction section looking for this book.
Right. So Nicole says, no problem, like you're welcome. Let's find the librarian and check out your book. So they're going to go to the front desk now, and they are finding the librarian. Now, if you think it sounds a bit like library, that's because it does. It's a person who works at a library. Usually, they're the person who helps to check out and check in books, like when people return books. Now, they can also help people who need help searching for things on databases. They also have a big job in keeping track of all the books that are going in and out. Which ones they have right now, which ones they don't. They're in charge of ordering new books. They're basically the person who runs the library. However, there's one job they don't have, and that's putting the books away.
On the shelves.
Right, because that is the page's job. That's my old job. That was the first job. I was a page.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I used to put away all the children's books, which was a constantly messy job because children do not like to put books back in the same place twice. So the shelves always needed to be reorganized.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, for librarian here, we have an example sentence. We wanted to find some books on ancient Egypt, so we asked the librarian for help. And of course, they're going to know where they are.
That's right. So they want to check out these books. Remember that meaning of check out from day one, to kind of officially take it out and sign something to show you are the person who has this book. You've taken it out of the library. And we see they find the librarian.
So they're talking to the librarian now, and Will says, I'd like to borrow this book, please.
Okay. And the librarian says, of course. Can I have your library card?
Yeah, you gotta have one of those.
You do indeed, but it seems Will didn't know this.
He hasn't been to a library in a while, or maybe ever.
Gosh. Or maybe not this one.
Yeah, probably. Well, he says, you need a library card to borrow a book? He's kind of surprised.
Yeah, like you can't just go in and say, I want this book, can I have it for a couple of weeks?
No.
It doesn't quite work like that.
No.
The librarian says yes, meaning yes, you do need a card, but it's easy to sign up for one and there's no fee.
Right, exactly. They're usually free.
Exactly. That's one thing that's great about libraries. It's just thousands of free books. So what Will needs to do is sign up for a library card or to become a member of the library. To sign up for something means to write down your name and maybe some other details in order to officially join a group, take part in an event, receive something, or just generally include yourself as part of something by the act of signing your name and maybe adding a few other pieces of information. So he'll have to do that to get his book. But what he won't have to do is pay a fee.
Exactly. So what are we talking about with fees? Now, if you heard the word pay, you might have an idea already. It's money you have to pay in order to get a service. So for example, if you want to get into a museum or a certain kind of park, like an amusement park, you might have to pay an entry fee. Or if you want to get somebody to do some work for you, like on your house or something like that, you'll have to pay them a hiring fee or a fee for their services. Now, if you want to park your car, often, you know, there's not many free places to park in Taipei, so you'll probably have to pay a parking fee. Yeah, so libraries usually don't charge fees for getting a library card, but if you don't take your book back in time, they sometimes have overdue fees or overdue charges. So make sure you don't turn your books in late. Yeah, so for example, I had to pay a fee to join this group, but I think it was worth the price.
Yeah, sometimes fees can be large, sometimes it's just a small fee. Okay, so what does he need to do? The librarian tells him just fill out this form. To fill something out means to complete all the areas of a particular document, a form, a page on the internet, and so on. Whatever it is, it's some kind of like empty areas, and you need to put information in all of those areas that require that information. So it could be name, address, phone number. If you're online, it could be filling out a form to book a hotel room. You know, so you need to know the date of stay, your name, how many nights. You just need to put all that information in, you fill out. And in this case, we're filling out a form.
Right. So as you just kind of said, a form is a paper or a computer page that asks you to fill in or fill out certain information. So often, of course, almost all of them will ask for your name, your phone number, maybe your email. If it's a more complicated thing, like a form that you have to fill out for a government service, you'll have to put in your ID number, your address, maybe
All
things
sorts.
like, all sorts of things. So to make sure that the person or company that you're giving the form to has your information and your name, then they can provide you services. So what's a form you had to fill out recently?
Oh, recently I had to fill out a form to get my son registered as a British citizen. So quite a lot of information because it's my name, my parents' names, my wife's name and her parents' names. A lot of extra stuff goes in that form. How about you?
I had to get a new bank card recently, so I had to fill out a form with all my information like ID and sort of things like that, and also my bank account number.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I had to sign a few different pages.
One thing about forms is they're always kind of set out in the same way. So it's a single piece of paper that 100 different people could use.
Exactly.
It's just like a standard document with kind of boxes, and whoever you are, you'll fill out the same thing.
Right, so an example might be, when I went to apply for the job, the restaurant asked me to fill out a form with my name and work history.
Okay, Will's fine with this idea and says, okay.
Yep, so he's filling out his form to get a library card. The librarian says you can borrow books for a month at a time.
Yeah, she or he, we're not quite sure, is explaining to Will how the library works, some of the important rules. He or she says you can renew your loan, but please return your books on time.
Right.
As Kat says, otherwise you might have to pay a fee. So the librarian said that Will could renew his loan. The word renew has several meanings, but we're using it to mean extend the length of a contract or agreement. You basically start the contract again, often for the same length of time. For example, if you're living somewhere for a year and at the end of that year you renew your contract, you can live in that place for another year. We could also use the word renew to mean replace an old thing, add new life for something, repeat something, or even start something again. But in our article, we mean some kind of agreement that you just start over. For example, my company has renewed my contract, so I'll continue working here for another year at least. So here, Will can renew his loan of a book.
Yeah, so as you said, renew has to do with contracts here. So a loan is a kind of a contract. It's an agreement where you borrow something, usually books from a library or money from a bank, with the understanding that you're going to give it back at a later date. Loans are for a certain amount of time, so you have to give back the books or pay back the money by a certain date. Or if it's a library loan, you can renew it. You usually can't renew bank loans, though.
No,
you can defer them.
Yeah, you could make some kind of agreement. We could also talk about informal loans, which is maybe Kat gives me 500 NT, to buy lunch or something, and I need to pay it back.
That's right.
We don't have an agreement, we haven't written anything down, but it's understood that I will return the money.
And
now,
if he doesn't, then I get to bully him.
Yeah, to beat me up.
No, I don't.
Now, of course, what Will has to do is return his book on time. Now, if something is on time, it is done on or before the date at which something is due. Okay, after that date, it becomes late. For example, if your teacher says, hand in your homework on Friday, if you do it on time, that means you give it to your teacher on Friday or earlier.
Right, exactly. So he has to bring the books back on time, within a month.
There'll be a date stamped on it so he can remember.
Exactly. So like right inside the first page, there will be a list and there'll be a date. Okay, so the librarian says, otherwise, there's a fine. And a fine is kind of like a fee that you pay for
usually for doing something wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Fines are kind of a fee for being bad or you're being punished.
Yeah. So otherwise here is this word that is an interesting adverb that we put after something that you usually have to do. So if you don't do this, or if this part of the sentence isn't true, it's used Otherwise is used to show what the result will be if it doesn't happen. For example, we'll try and get tickets for the movie on Saturday. Otherwise, meaning if we can't do it, we can go on Sunday. Or you need to finish your homework before the party. Otherwise, you can't go, meaning if you don't finish your homework, you can't go.
Yep, it basically shows either a negative result or another option, something like that. So, Will says, what if the library isn't open when I want to return the book? Like, maybe I can't come on Friday, but the library's not open Thursdays, so I still need it on Wednesday, but Saturday's too late. What do I do?
Well, that's actually no problem, because the librarian says we have a book return box outside.
So what is this, basically?
Yeah, it's a box and it has a slot in it where you can
mailbox,
really. Yeah, it's like a mailbox. And so every morning the librarians will collect the books that have been returned and probably do it again at the end of the day so that they can be put back on the shelves and checked back in.
Yeah,
so you don't have to be there.
Yeah, it's kind of an easy way to just go in and sort of like, okay, it's returned, but I don't need to go inside or sign any forms. It's a quicker way to return your books.
It's very easy.
Yep, and Will says, got it. So he understands, and then he says, here's the completed form.
Perfect.
Now, complete is a verb. We're using completed, the adjective form, to describe a thing that has been completed. And of course, to complete something is to finish all the parts of it. So to use an example sentence in a similar kind of way, we could say, please give your completed tests to me at the end of the class.
Right. So you want to make sure that the form is all filled out because otherwise he can't really get his library card. And the librarian looks at it and he says, please wait a moment while I put your details into our system.
So that'd be the computer system that we talked about yesterday.
Now, when we talk about details, usually we're talking about small bits of information or small bits of something, usually to add on to something bigger. However, in this case, when we're talking about details on a form or in a system, we mean contact details like your name, your phone number, your ID number, and your email. Whatever he put on the form are his details. These are, in casual conversation, called deets, D-E-E-T-S. It's kind of a cute word, as in, let me get your deets and I can call you later. Somebody might say that to you if they want to get your phone number and your name, or maybe your Facebook information, something like that. Those are your deets, or your details. Here's an example sentence. Please put your details into our system, and then we can move on to the next step in the process.
Right then, so Will or the librarian is putting Will's deets in the system and then says, now that you've signed up, if you remember that word or phrase from earlier, you can use our computers, reading room and study room. So that means Will probably has login details for the computers. Of course, they would have used Nicole's yesterday.
Probably.
He can go into the reading room and sort of sit down and just read books in maybe a comfortable chair.
Yeah.
Or he can go to the study room where it could be a big long desk he works at. I know some libraries have sort of little meeting rooms where people can maybe work on something.
Get together in groups. And,
like Kat says, a library is a community centre with other things going on than just shelves of books. You can hold meetings there, you can do a few other things, you could watch stuff. So it's a great community resource.
Exactly. So he's got full access to the library now, and he says, great, thanks.
Okay, and then we see in the final sentence, Will waits as the librarian registers him. Okay, to register someone, we usually use someone, we could use a thing, is to enter the person or thing's details in an official list. You could register yourself. So, as we mentioned earlier, my son's birth, he was born last year. We registered him here in Taiwan, but also in the UK. So their official records in both countries will have his name on a list to show when he was born, and he is a citizen of both. He is registered.
Lucky kid.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of the article. Let's go now to our For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
So, do you often go to a library? If you do, what do you go there to do? And if not, why?
Well, that's sort of a complicated question.
Yeah, a lot of questions.
Sometimes I do go to the Taipei City or New Taipei City library. I like the one in Beitou and I like the one in Xindian or like near Dapingmin. Right next to Dapingmin Station. Those are really nice. They're very quiet. They're really good for studying or just reading and enjoying a book. Also, I go to an online library a lot through my university because I'm doing my master's program, my graduate program, so I need to do a lot of research. So they do have an online library where you can find articles, books, all sorts of things which are, you know, interesting to me, but maybe not so interesting to other people.
Never mind.
Yeah.
These days, no, I don't often go to libraries. Basically because, like we kind of said at the start of day one, I have an e-reader. I get a lot of my books very cheaply and often for free on Amazon and other sites like that. So an actual library to get books, not as often these days. It may change at some point in the future if I have a bit more reading time, because that's the reason why I don't go. I just don't really have time. But yeah, the Beitou Library is a lovely place to go to. I've not actually been inside, but every time I pass it, I think, oh, I'd love to go there for a few hours just to kind of write in peace. And friends of mine have done it. They love writing there.
If you go in the library, there's a porch that overlooks the park, Shinbeitou Park.
That's the one I kind of see from the road. You think, oh, that'd be a lovely place to
It's a really nice place to sit and read or sit and write. Yeah, it's really, really nice.
Okay, so that's what you can do at a library. That brings us to the end of our article. Thanks for watching, everybody. For English for You, I'm Pat.
And I'm Kat.
Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Visiting the local library. Will and Nicole meet up.
Did you find your book?
Yes, it took me a while, but I tracked it down. Thanks for assisting me.
No problem. Let's find the librarian and check out your book.
They find the librarian.
I'd like to borrow this book, please.
Of course. Can I have your library card?
You need a library card to borrow a book?
Yes, but it's easy to sign up for one, and there's no fee. Just fill out this form.
Okay.
You can borrow books for a month at a time. You can renew your loan, but please return your books on time. Otherwise, there's a fine.
What if the library isn't open when I want to return the book?
We have a book return box outside.
Got it. Here's the completed form.
Please wait a moment while I put your details into our system. Now that you've signed up, you can use our computers, reading room, and study rooms.
Great! Thanks.
Will waits as the librarian registers him.
Vocabulary Review.
Librarian. Robert was being too loud at the library, so a librarian told him to be quiet. Fee. If you're not a guest at this hotel, you can still use its pool for a fee of 500 NT dollars. Form. Once you've answered the questions on this form and signed it, please mail it to the address below. Renew. Fabian loved his apartment, but he wasn't allowed to renew his contract and had to move to a new house. Complete. William completed the survey and got 50% off at the online store. Details. Rex began his speech by sharing a few details about his background.
智慧小补帖
Loan. Otherwise. Register.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。 如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net